All right. So let's get serious. Let's talk about some stuff. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I don't know if you've noticed the pattern in my channel, but I was posting. I was back into it. I was working on the videos. I was working on the shop. I was coming out with content a lot more often, and then all of a sudden, about a month and a half ago, my last video came out and it completely just stopped. And I feel like I owe you an explanation as to what's going on, as to what I plan on doing in the future, to what happened in the past, why I stopped uploading. And I know that I haven't uploaded all of the time, so it's not super uncommon to see a relatively big gap in my channel with how busy I was working at my day job and with what everything I had going on. But the gap, so some of this video, let me back up a little bit. At the beginning of this video is going to be before I got sick, and then after the shop is painted. The last thing that I did before I got severely sick was painted the inside of the shop. And then the hurricane happened. The shop did just fine through the storm. I mean, it held up perfectly fine. I had no complaints whatsoever, and all of the concrete work is going to be after I got less sick, or not as sick, as I'm doing a little better here. So what happened was, about a month ago, at the beginning of September, I started developing stomach problems where I just had pain in my stomach. It felt like I was hungry, but I wasn't hungry. It felt like I had really bad gas pains, and like I was hungry all at the same time, and I had neither one of those things. So the pain started off not too bad, and then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Then I went to a little Advent Health spot. They told me that they wanted me to go to an ER so that way they could do a CT scan to see exactly what's going on. They did a CT scan. They thought I just had food poisoning because my insides were all crazy. My colon was messed up. There's all kinds of inflammation and swelling and whatnot. And then I went to home, they gave me medicine. I didn't get better, I actually got worse. A couple days later, I had to go back to the ER. Then my condition got a lot worse. My body didn't respond to the first treatment that they gave me. Come to find out, they diagnosed me a little bit wrong. So 4 or 5 trips to the ER, 2 weeks in the hospital. It turns out I was actually diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I've had this a long time, according to the GI doctor, and it's just one of those things that I gotta be careful. I'm doing a little bit better now. I'm at home, I'm feeling better, and that brings me to my next point. So with me getting sick, one of the main things that they said caused it is physical and mental stress. Now, where I was working before, I'm not blaming my job on this whatsoever, but it was a very physical job. So what I'm doing now is I'm stepping away from that job. I'm gonna go into my shop at home full time, 100%, uploading videos to YouTube, working on cars, creating content, Patreon, YouTube, project cars, customer cars, paint jobs, the whole thing 100%. And the main reason for doing this is so that way I can stay home and focus on getting better. So with me moving into this full time, I plan on this working extremely well. I look forward to it being a second shot at Bodevision. I'm gonna be putting my full effort into my cars, into my channel, into uploading and everything. I wanna grow my channel. I have my Patreon going. There's already 2 videos over there. I'll talk about that in some later videos. I wanna get some stuff up, but the link is gonna be in the description down below. And if you did want to support me on this major life change to make it happen, where I continue to do this, the link for my Patreon is down below as well. And I got a lot of content coming. I just picked up a new shop vehicle, shop truck. That'll be a video coming. I plan on getting back to uploading a lot more often because this is going to be my full-time gig. So if you do enjoy Bodevision, if you do enjoy what you've seen before, and you like the channel when I was posting more consistently, that's all gonna change. It's gonna come back. I'm gonna be posting all the time. I'm putting my full-time effort and energy into the shop, into my channel, and into just making cool stuff as far as projects, cars, and content just for you. So let's get into this video. The first part is gonna be before I was sick. That's where I'm painting the inside of the shop. And then fast forward to a month or so later when I get out of the hospital, 25 pounds lighter actually. I wasn't eating, I was really sick. It was bad, but here I am. I'm doing pretty good now. Back to content full time. And I can't wait to show you the progress on the shop, and I can't wait to show you the shop truck. That's gonna be an upcoming video. I'm glad to be back. I'm feeling pretty good. with this, I wanted to talk about this just briefly, just for 1 second. So as I'm making this driveway, the dimensions that I'm making the driveway are dimension according to what I could get in a truck. I'm ordering a short load truck to dump the concrete. Now the short load truck only carries 2 yards, and the reason why I want to do that is because the truck can actually get in my backyard. A big truck wouldn't be able to, little truck can, 2 yards. So I started to do the math and figure out how big can I make my driveway for the shop as big as possible, but to be 2 yards. So what I found was at 4 inches thick, which is standard for all driveways in Florida for the most part, it's standard number. So at 4 inches thick, 10 feet wide, 16 feet long, that's 1.98 yards. So that's how we formed it in. At 16 feet by 10 feet, 4 inches thick. Now the thing is, I got thinking about it, I don't necessarily want that first leading edge to only be 4 inches thick, because that's where you're going to transition from dirt to concrete in any kind of trucks, vehicles, or anything. You wouldn't necessarily want that to be only 4 inches thick. About any standard driveway, they usually have the little drain area, which is very thick, and then it bumps up to the driveway, which is a thicker edge, usually about 8 inches to 10 inches in there, and then it kind of tapers up to being 4 inches. Now ideally, we would want this all to be poured at the same time, so as we're digging out the dirt, you would see the dirt remain at 4 inches below the forms and then dive down at the very end. But doing my math at 4 inches thick and the size that I wanted, I just decided to bag mix the little section below. So I got 8 bags of concrete at Home Depot, and then I put the piece of rebar in it, and then I had rebar stubbing up. So that's gonna be 10 inches below the forms, meaning it's gonna be 6 inches thick is what I poured this for, and then the rebar is stubbing up, so that way the new slab, the entire slab, is doweled into that just a little bit. And also, speaking of dowels, I doweled in or put rebar against the existing slab, so that way the old slab and the new slab never shift. They always remain at the same height, and that's pretty standard as well. Ideally, you would want it to be poured at the same time, and that's called a monolithic pour or a monolithic footer. Mono meaning one pour. This being 2 separate pours is not as good, but the way that I'm looking at it, it's going to be better than if it was just 4 inches thick on that leading edge. So that's the reason for doing that. That's why it looks the way it does. If you can see, we got the rebar going across, the rebar going up. That looks good. So now it's time to get ready for concrete. They're gonna be here in the morning. All right, so today is the day. It is bright and early. Well, not so bright yet. It's still a little bit dark. It's about 6:30. We're waiting for the truck. The truck will pull up right at about 7 o'clock. I got another short load truck. It's just a 2-yard truck, so it's real easy for it to just pull up, back in, dump out all the concrete. We'll spread it out, trowel it in, do a nice little broom finish, because this is going to be a driveway, so we do want some kind of a traction on it. And it's a lot easier to actually get a broom finish looking nice than it is for like a really good finish. So that's the game plan. All we can do now is wait for the truck and then get started. All right, so as you can see, we are looking pretty good. Now at this point is the point where I gotta babysit the fresh concrete. It's not quite finished yet. It's just been bull floated in and kind of finished off like that. I went ahead and I dressed out all the edges. Now with that bull float, that's an expensive piece of equipment, but the thing is you can rent one of those at Home Depot. I think it was $15 for like 4 hours, which is a no-brainer. Worked out really nicely. So with this, at this point, you can still see all the grooves in it. I gotta let it dry a little bit more, let all that water rise to the top, and then I'll go after it with a broom. For a broom finish, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run the broom from that end to this end, so that way the grooves are running the opposite direction of how you would walk to make it a little bit less slippery. Now that's more common in sidewalks or driveways and whatnot, something that you're not gonna wanna slip on because it will be wet out there pretty often. And another thing is too, we're gonna do control joints, but I'm gonna actually, so what I'm gonna do control joint wise is I just have this notch trowel. One end is kind of up like that, so it'll obviously be pushing away from me, or if I want to come towards me, I'm gonna have to lean it back. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the 2x4, the same board that we use as the screed board, I'm gonna go ahead and screw that to each side, one at 1/3 of the way here, one at 2/3 of the way. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that board to just run this edge along nicely. Now the purpose of a control joint is so that way when the slab cracks, because it's inevitable, the slab will crack. My brand new slab already cracked, but it cracked inside of the control joints. Now I cut those joints, the ones out here, I'm gonna do it this way. I think it'll come out a little bit nicer if I use that 2x4 as a nice guide. I think it'll look really good. So we just gotta wait for that water to rise a little bit more, cut the control joints in there, or notch the control joints in there, broom finish it, and dude, we are looking pretty good. This is looking really good. I feel like this makes the world of difference with the shop. Before it looked so incomplete. Now we got our driveway. The thinking was behind making it this size is I wanted an area that I can work outside. I can stand on a car if I want to. I can we might eventually do some kind of an awning structure out here, but either way, right now, I can wash a car out here. I don't gotta be in the dirt. This pad, this slab, I wanted it to be big enough for a full car to be on here, have room to walk around, and it is just that. I think it looks really good. Now keep in mind, we are not professionals by any means. This is only ever the second slab that I poured. The first one was the shop. This is the second one. This one we took a little bit different of an approach by using that grooved trowel to make the control joints. So cracks, a slab cracking is inevitable. The idea is a crack will go into those cracks or those grooves because those grooves are thinner. The crack is gonna find the weakest point. So those control joints are going to control where those cracks go. And my slab inside the shop, I had actually cut them out. And if you look at them really closely, there is cracks inside of them. So they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. If I didn't make those control joints, it would have cracked going through the floor. It would have looked really ugly, but really ugly is not this. This looks good. Don't get me wrong. It's not perfect, but I'm happy with it. As long as you can get a car into the shop and it looks halfway good, that's all I really needed. So with this video, I know there was a lot of heavy stuff at the beginning. We got some good progress done on the shop. We also got 220 done in the shop this week, so I'm gonna be getting my air compressor, my welder, all my stuff is gonna come over here. We're gonna get the Accord over here. That's the next thing to be finished. The next video that you're gonna see is I just picked up a shop truck. It's on the other side of that wall. I cannot wait to show you that. I do a little bit of work on that as well. I will show you the full plan for that video. There's also an early video on my Patreon that showed you the shop truck and gave you a little sneak peek of what's going on. So check that out over there as well. And dude, I'm just glad to be back. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you support this big major change in my life to come back to the channel full time, I want to hear about it down in the comment section below. I want you to run those likes through the roof. And I want to see you on that Patreon page as well. So thank you so much for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know what it is, YouTube. I will see you on the next one in a couple of days. I'm out.